Welcome to today's lesson on subjects and predicates. Very important that we understand what subjects and predicates are, because as we write, very important that we write complete sentences. And a complete sentence must include both a subject and a predicate. If a group of words is missing either a subject or a predicate, then it's not a complete sentence. Those group of words would be what's called a fragment. And we don't want to write fragments. Instead, we want to write complete sentences. And in order to have a complete sentence, must include both a subject and a predicate. So let's take a look at what these things are. The building blocks of sentences are nouns and verbs, and the subject of a sentence is always a noun. The predicate in a sentence is always a verb. So again, the building blocks of any sentence must include both a noun and a verb, or another way of saying it is a subject and a predicate. The subject is always a noun, the predicate is always a verb. Another way of thinking about what the subject is that it tells what the sentence is about. We'll look at some sentences soon, and you'll see that often a sentence will contain more than one noun. So we'll have to be able to identify which noun is actually the subject of the sentence. But just keep this definition in mind, that the subject tells what the sentence is about. Now let's take a look at what the predicate does. Another way of thinking about what a predicate is what it does. The predicate tells what the subject is doing or tells something about the subject. Probably a lot easier to understand what these definitions mean by looking at some sample sentences. So why don't we do that right now? All right, here's a very simple sentence. Students enjoy Mr. Conley's stories. Now this is a complete sentence because it includes both a subject and a predicate. So what we need to do is figure out what the subject in this sentence is. Now we know that the subject is the noun in the sentence. However, we actually have three nouns in this sentence. First noun is students, another noun is Mr. Conley, and another noun is stories. So before we can figure out what the subject is, or which one of these three is the subject, let's see if we can figure out what the predicate is. Alright, sorry about that delay. The predicate in this sentence, it happens to be our only verb, which is enjoy. And that's why it's a complete sentence, because we have both a subject and a predicate. So I'm going to write P over enjoy. We know that's our predicate. And so the question is students or Mr. Conley or stories the subject of the sentence? Only one can be the subject of the sentence, and in this case, it's students. And the reason why is because who is enjoying? Students are enjoying. And that's why students is the subject in this sentence. Remember that the predicate tells what the subject is doing or something about the subject. And in this case, students are enjoying Mr. Conley's stories. So students is your subject and enjoy is your predicate. Let's take a look at one more sentence. All right, another fairly simple sentence. Joey helps Mom with the laundry. And this is also a complete sentence because it has both a subject and a predicate. So let's see if we can figure out what the predicate is. For me, that's always the easiest way to get started. If you know what the verb is in a sentence, then everything else falls into place. And in this case, the verb in this sentence, or the predicate, is helps. Okay? Now the question is, who helps Mom with the laundry? Because this is another sentence where we happen to have three nouns. Joey is a noun, Mom is a noun, and laundry is a noun. But only one of them can be the subject. And in this case, the person that helps or is doing the helping is Joey. So Joey is the subject in this sentence, and helps is the predicate in this sentence. So hopefully you can see, after looking at these two sentences, that the subject and the predicate go together. And again, it goes back to our definition that the subject tells what the sentence is about. This first sentence is about students. The second sentence is about Joey. What's students doing in the first sentence? They are enjoying. And what's Joey doing in this second sentence? He is helping. So subject and predicate always go together. What we're going to do next is take a look at some sample sentences and together identify first what the predicate is in the sentence, and then second, identify what the subject is in the sentence. So let's start with our first sentence. All right, in this first sentence, see if you can figure out what the predicate in the sentence is. All right, good. If you identified beat as the predicate in this sentence, then you're correct. Next, let's see if we can figure out what the subject of the sentence is. And again, keep in mind, I see 1, 2, 3 nouns in this sentence, but only one can be the subject. Remember that the subject and the predicate go together, that the predicate tells what the subject is either doing or it tells something about the subject. So underline or choose the correct subject in this sentence. All right, good. If you selected Patriots as the subject in this sentence, then you got this correct. Nice. All right, second sentence. Again, see if you can figure out what the predicate here. Remember, the predicate is always a verb, so see if you can figure out what the verb in this sentence is. All right, good. If you identify through as the predicate in the sentence, then you got this correct. Nice job. All right, next let's see if we can identify what the subject of the sentence is. Again, I see at least two nouns in this sentence, but only one of them can be the subject. Let's see how you do. Great job. Tom Brady, quarterback for the New England Patriots, is the subject of this sentence. Right? Tom Brady is the subject because Tom Brady is the person that is throwing a touchdown pass. Remember, the predicate will always tell what the subject is either doing or something about the subject. Okay? The pass isn't throwing, Tom Brady is throwing. So again, another example of how the subject and the predicate always go together. Right? Try to think of it that way. And these are actually pretty easy. All right, sentence number 3. My dad loves watching football. Bit of a tricky one. See if you can figure out what the predicate is in this sentence. All right, good. If you identified loves as the predicate in this sentence, then you're correct. Even though watching is a verb, it's not the predicate. The reason why is because my dad loves doing what? Loves watching. So in this case, what Dad is doing is Dad is loving watching football. Loves is the predicate in this sentence. Now let's see if we can figure out what the subject is. Yeah, correct. The subject in the sentence is Dad. Football is a noun, but football isn't loving. Dad is loving. And if you haven't figured out by now, it's football season, and I'm here watching the Patriots play. And they happen to be winning at the moment, so it's a good thing. All right, let's try another sentence. All right, next sentence. See if you can figure out what the predicate is here. And hopefully by now you've learned a little bit about verbs, not only main verbs or action verbs, but about helping verbs as well. So I'll give you a moment to figure out what the predicate is here. All right, correct. The predicate here is. So I'm going to write P above is. It's the only verb in the sentence, and it is our predicate. Now see if you can figure out what the subject of the sentence is. Right, good. The subject of the sentence is football. Right? Football is. Fun in this sentence is actually an adjective, and sport is a noun, but it's not the subject because it's not sport is, but football is. It's a little tricky, but it's important that you see this type of sentence and you can still figure out what the subject and the predicate is, because you're going to see a lot more sentences like this as we learn grammar and while we're reading as well. All right, let's try another one. All right, great job. My team won the football game. Tell me what the predicate is in this sentence. Correct. The predicate in this sentence is won. Okay. Again, I just think it's really easy to figure out subjects and predicates if you begin with the predicate or you begin with the verb. If you can find the verb in the sentence, then figuring out what other things are in the sentence is a lot easier. Now see if you can figure out what the subject of the sentence is. All right, good. The subject of this sentence is team. So even though you may think it's my, okay, it isn't my one, it's team one. Remember that the subject and the predicate always go together. Right? Who won? It's not my one, it's team one. And that's why the subject in this sentence is team. So if you got that right, great job. We're going to try another sentence. This one's going to be a little tricky, but if you can figure this out, then I think you have it. All right, last sentence. Brendan's dad played football at Notre Dame. See if you can figure out what the predicate in this sentence is. All right, good. If you identified played as the predicate in this sentence, then you got this right. Good job. All right, now see if you can figure out what the predicate in this sentence is. And this is the tricky one, so good luck. All right, good. If you identified dad as the subject in this sentence, then you got this right. So even though it may look like it's Brendan, Brendan's not the subject in the sentence because Brendan didn't play football at Notre Dame. It's Brendan's dad who played football at Notre Dame. Again, remember the subject and the predicate go together. They're kind of connected. All right? And again, Notre Dame is a noun, in this case a proper noun, but it's not the subject. Football is also a noun, but it's not the subject. And that's because the subject goes with the predicate, that the predicate will either tell what the subject is doing or something about the subject. And in this case, played is telling what dad did. So hopefully that helps you understand what subjects and predicates are, and thanks for joining us.